Hello, this is Derek Gerber, your host of Press Play. We're so excited to have Beth here today. Hi, Beth. How you doing? Thanks for coming to the show.
Good to see you, Derek. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. She is the president of Soapbox Influence, and we're so excited to have her today. She's going to be sharing a wealth of her knowledge and experience with us today. Going to give us some tips and tricks to walk away with for sure. But we want to jump right into it. What is Soapbox? Bring me in, pitch me.
Awesome. I love it. Any chance to pitch. So, Soapbox is an influencer marketing agency. We're based in Bentonville, Arkansas, which is where Walmart, the world's largest retailer, is based. And we basically do three things. We do influencer marketing campaigns. We have a network of 7,000 influencers across the US who we work with for those campaigns. We do social media management, which I can't believe is still a thing that people need, but it is desperately. And then the third leg of the stool for us is what we call shopper and consumer insights. So if you think about getting inside the minds of shoppers, we obviously live in a very retail centric world where the big brands and the small brands of the world are trying to understand what makes shoppers tick, what makes them purchase, and what's going on inside their heads. So we help with all of that.
I love it. And what has been your background that has led to Soapbox? What got you to that point that you said, hey, the world needs this? For you to connect with 7,000 influencers and start lighting up the world like that is super exciting. So in the last 6 or 7 years, I'm sure you've been through many journeys.
Yes.
But again, on your longer career journey, how did you find yourself here? How did you get to this
Oh
point?
man. Okay, so this is a good question, Derek. I have a French degree. It's super useful, as you might
Ooh,
imagine. But I'm kind of a marketer at heart. It's been the common denominator and the breadcrumb throughout my career. So honestly, let me think. About 7 years ago, I was a marketing consultant out on my own, and I took on a client called Kindle King Group. They are a large company that is established here in Bentonville, been around for about 30 years. And slowly they turned from being a client to being my employer. And we really came up with the concept for Soapbox within the company and then kind of spun it out as a freestanding organization. But the footnote to that story is that I always like to joke that I'm a decrepit influencer, right? I was a blogger in the early days. I was very active on social media, right when Twitter was kind of getting big. And so now I always joke that I have no more influence and I just have to run an influencer marketing agency. It's my consolation prize.
it works out the other way, I see.
It's
You
fun.
went from breaking ground and being the innovator to now highly connected in this
Yeah,
space and running best practices and thought leadership on it for
yeah,
your
you got
clients. I love that. That is so exciting.
it.
And that's a world that I closely relate to myself. I mean, the hype that you can generate, the brand awareness, let alone the brand legitimacy
Mhm.
that people can generate from the right type of social media campaigns is an untouched type of value. I
Yeah,
just think
agree.
there's no, it's invaluable. It really is. And so, okay. So walk me through, how is Soapbox influencing the world right now? Maybe you can give us a few example campaigns, or
Sure.
if you can't share all the details, maybe walk us through so we could visualize it together.
Yeah, would love that. So great questions, Derek. So we're very fortunate because of, I think, where we are physically in the world with proximity to a very large retailer, that we get to work with some huge brands, right? Household names. So the NBA is a client. We get to
Love it.
do amazing work for brands that, are very recognizable like that. But we also work with up and coming brands. A good example, one that I'm particularly enthusiastic about right now, is Mike's Hot Honey. So this is a
Ooh,
really cool product. It's out of Brooklyn, getting a ton of traction. It's available in stores throughout the US now. It's this awesome, kicky infused honey that is now a staple on my Friday night pizza. So maybe
ooh,
hasn't made it to you in LA yet. We need to definitely get it on your radar and get it on your Friday night pizza. But I think the fun part for me is that juxtaposition of, half of America is watching the NBA, right? They're all familiar. The other half of America hasn't yet heard of a Mike's Hot Honey, so we can kind of serve both of those sorts of clients, which is pretty cool.
I love
Yeah,
it. So you could take the small, innovative products, the things that need traction that could definitely create a niche, and you create and ignite a following around that.
yeah,
But then on top of it, you can also scale to represent the world's largest and most reputable
that's
brands
right.
with genuine influence and genuine camp. I find that absolutely
It's
amazing,
fun.
and I think that's like, yeah. I mean, it's really leading me into my next question. Right? Is why should influence marketing not be ignored in this day and age? Just what we're talking about, two different very scales, same concept. Walk us through.
Yeah, that's a cool question because I think you think about let's stick with the example we just used. The NBA is not exactly hurting for recognition, right? We all know who the NBA is, but sometimes they need help moving product, right? So if you think about NBA
That's right.
branded items, used to be Spalding basketballs, now it's moving over to Wilson. And so letting people
That's right.
know that those NBA licensed and branded items are available at retailers is one of the things that we would do. But then to your point, if you think about like a Mike's Hot Honey, just a cool, I don't want to call it indie brand, but something that's not discovered yet by a lot of people, that's where you can use influencers in such a cool, effective way to say, you have to try this, right? I just did it with you. I said, you got to put this on your Friday night pizza, right? So I guess once an influencer never, you never die, right? So,
You walked into it
right,
ready to do it. You
yeah.
knew you were coming with Mike's Hot Humming today, and
I
I
know.
just had to accept that.
That's right.
I'm gonna go look for some Mike.
Yeah,
You
you
better be
got
sending me
to.
some out here in LA.
Yeah, you got to. I'll send you some. But so your question about, why should influencer marketing not be ignored is,
Sure.
like a Mike's Hot Honey, you think about all of these use case scenarios for a product, and when you use an influencer, they can tell their audience, "Hey, you've got to try this with sushi." Or, hey, check out this
Mm.
cocktail that I made using Mike's Hot Honey. So they start to get the wheels turning and start to use all of these different scenarios that maybe a traditional marketer or agency would never come up with, right? So it's just a neat tactic to, I think, reach everyday Americans.
I love that. So yeah, you can always get the staple, the formulaic approach
Right.
to the business level thing, but influencer marketing is taking it up that extra
Yeah.
notch. It's creating that extra hook, a variable in which we didn't think about. The fact that you said honey on pizza is still bothering me,
You got
but
to
also
try it. Trust
intriguing me at
me.
the same time. And I was like, I don't know if we could be friends, but maybe we can. Maybe I have to trust you. I'm a pineapple on a pizza guy. I know
Same.
that's a big okay, good. So,
We're aligned.
now I have a new thing to
Yeah.
try. So, even though I didn't think of that never would have been a thing, and now you're already influencing me. And I think that's the key of today's conversation
Right.
is that we all understand that there's the immediate brand awareness that we can generate around exactly what we do.
Hmm.
But then there's that colorful side of look what else you can do. And
Hmm.
I think that's what's so interesting to me. So even when it comes to sports, entertainment, and hospitality,
Hmm.
we know it's billions and billions of dollars
Right.
of the industry. The NFL, the NBA, the
Yep.
NHL, all the big dogs, they have lots of wonderful sponsors that we love to work with
I
too.
love it.
And when it comes to running these activations and these campaigns, how close do you get to player side influence versus team recognition? And I mean that more from a branding perspective because some players have their own brand
Yeah.
and their own sponsorships, but then there's an overlap between the official NBA
Hmm. Hmm.
sponsorships and then also the sub-level division of the teams and the stadiums below that. So
Yeah.
maybe walk me through how do you delegate some of those dances between everyone?
Yeah, that's a fun piece to explore. So for us, the common denominator in every client we serve is actually retail. Is there a product that is available at a big box retailer or like a CVS, a Walgreens, a Target, a Walmart? So when we work with the NBA, we're thinking less of the players and we're thinking less of the franchise and those sorts of, arena style sponsorships, right? We're
That's
really
right. That's right.
looking at the actual items that they have for sale at stores across America. So for the NBA, again, it might be a Wilson branded basketball. For Mike's Hot Honey, it's the honey that they're selling at Walmart. With CVS or like an HEB grocery store, we might be promoting more of a beauty product or a skincare line. So you're right, though. It's interesting to think about going back to the players within the NBA. This whole new network where they have to think of themselves as a brand, right? Having a personal brand. And so, in some ways, I think even celebrities and athletes have to look to influencers and think about how have you built your brand? How do you protect your brand? That's money in the bank in terms of how they represent themselves and present themselves to the world. So, lots to be learned there for players from the influencer marketing world.
I love that. Building the brand versus protecting the
Mm,
brand. I mean, there's one thing to solidify the foundation, but to add floors and furniture on top of that foundation
I love the way
becomes a
you
whole
put
new
it.
level of
Yeah,
creativity. Yeah, it takes a little bit more love
that's
to
right.
to keep going and keep stacking creatively. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, you hit the same thing over and over again and we begin to tune it out.
That's right. You got
So
it. It
one of the
becomes white
challenges that
noise.
I'm sure that you're aware of. Yes, how do you stay fresh? And maybe that's too generic, but when you come into working with big brands, you always have to have the cutting edge. How are you injecting fresh ideas into the process that, again, that are capturing tens of millions of people's attention? But it starts with you right there. What's the secret there that we could maybe take home
Yeah.
for us?
Boy, that's a really good question. And it's a hard one to answer. A little bit of it is how I'm wired personally, right? So I think the thing that I bring to the world is ideas. That's exactly who I am and how I'm wired. And so I've been very fortunate, I think, to be able to, build a company and to work with people who crave and seek ideas. That is our job for our clients, is to get on a call and to get them excited and to bring them something fresh and new. So, if I were to say something tactical and make it very, in layman's terms and very bare bones, for me, that means consuming a lot of information. So I'm reading a lot, I'm devouring articles, I'm skimming headlines. I had a CEO really early in my career who taught me to skim. And I think that's a
Oh,
talent that everyone should pick up because, he used to say, again, this is before social, you don't have time to read the whole paper every day, but in our world we needed to be informed, and so you really taught me how to like skim through a paper, find
that's right.
those headlines, find those nuggets of information. So I think that's still kind of a part of who I am. I'm reading newsletters, I'm, checking out different sources of information. That keeps my wheels
Got it.
turning, and when my wheels are turning, then I can do that on behalf of our clients. So I think sometimes we're
I
very
love it.
prone, if there were a big golden nugget takeaway there, I think sometimes we're prone to just do the same things we do and to be very formulaic in our approach to our day. And that's not going to yield fresh ideas and thought processes if we're around the same people
Right.
and the same ways of thinking every day. So I try to really push
Yeah.
myself out in that way to be able to do that for our clients.
I love it. And I got to share a story too, because I
Please.
learned from a boss that I had when I was at CNN. I was constantly pushing. I was like, tell me what I got to read. I'm building my
Yeah.
library books right now. I have over 100 different books. This is just like a
Yeah. Yeah.
few,
Yeah.
but I like Audible books too. So I've got a big collection of things. And when it comes down to it, it still rings in my head today. He said, Derek, don't stress about trying to read what's popular, okay? But really, it's about getting the experience for you at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was like so influential to me. And I was like, "But you follow along?" He's like, of course I read things, but like, you can take so much information from here and from there and from over here. But at the end of the day, you got to do something
That's
with it.
right. That's great
And I
advice.
thought that was so powerful. And, here's a man with tens of millions of dollars a quota, right?
Yeah.
So, he's selling
Yeah.
advertising for CNN. And I'm like, maybe I should just listen to him.
Maybe.
So here we are.
Yeah,
And again, I still love reading, but information in the world changes almost faster than you can finish a book.
for sure.
And I think that's
Yeah.
crazy. And just like you said, in skimming or speed reading or whatever methodology in which you want to incorporate into your own input of information and research, it
Right.
just has to be a part of your process.
That's so
So
true.
if I were to walk with them way for the audience, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just needs to be a part of your everyday. Whether you skim for 20 minutes
Hmm.
is better than zero.
Agree.
Find sources online you like that are thought leaders in style, in positioning and wording and messaging. There are millions of sites out
There
there.
are.
Just start googling, start following on social media.
Yeah.
Maybe start talking to Beth.
Yeah, you got it. And I think that's so funny as well because, so going back to the sports for just a minute. So my husband's a big
Yes,
sports
I love it.
enthusiast. I'm not here to try to act as though I am. Be
No,
clear on
this
that.
is a great audience and a visualization for everyone. We
Okay,
all understand
good.
it. So, and yeah, I mean, instead of being too niche, let's talk about something we all get. We
Yeah,
all see the beer, we all see the basketballs, we all see
that's
those
right.
logos.
That's right.
How do we relate that to ourselves too in the everyday
Yeah,
process?
so I have kind of a funny tactic on that. Actually, I'm going to out myself here a little bit. So every night, as my husband's like, he's watching football, he's watching basketball, he's
Good.
watching baseball. I'd rather be reading
Agreed.
something or having a glass of wine, but I like my husband. I like to spend time with him. So a lot of times that means I'm going to kind of camp out on the couch next to him, and he'll laugh
Of
at me
course.
because I look at the screen, right? So he's maybe watching the Masters or he's watching the NBA play, and
That's
he'll
right.
say, "Did you see that play?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not. I'm not watching them play. I was looking at all the brands that are advertising in the arena. I was looking at that guy's
Yeah.
hat to see what brand I'm kind of prospecting and thinking about our business and kind of ideating.
Love it.
It's just my eyes happen to be trained in the direction of the TV screen where the players are. But I think to your point, you can constantly be, if you want to be, you can be on and you can be learning and you can be thinking and observing and kind of gleaning information that affects and propels your business forward anytime. Maybe that's unhealthy.
That's right. And yeah, well, instead of maybe as a second tip, ABC always be closing, ABP always be prospecting,
Prospecting,
and
you
that
got
is
it.
absolutely true. Yes, if you want to be on the top of the awareness game, you need to look at where people are spending money,
That's right.
and it takes a lot of money for that logo to show up on TV. And
Hmm.
I'm talking for you to be on a national broadcast, you're probably pushing into hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a year in types of sponsorship
Absolutely.
with at least a 2, 3, 5 year activation
Yeah,
contract. So these people are very strategic in where they want to put their logo. So when you're watching TV, you can study.
that's right. You
When
got
you're watching Hulu or Netflix or streaming your show or sitting there on the couch and you're just scrolling social media, always be prospecting, always be studying because it's right there in front of you. We
That's
get
right.
hit with roughly 6,000 different advertisements every day. Which ones pique the interest for you the most?
Yeah.
Which ones do you tend to catch Yeah, start studying yourself, right?
Yeah.
So for the viewers, right, as we understand this, it's all around you. It's already happening. You already digest more content today than you did a year ago
So true.
because of our friend, the pandemic. So we all understand now, yeah, we are completely enveloped in a digital world, and we thought it moved fast a year ago, and now it's 2 or 3 times as
Mm,
fast. And that's the problem that we're all facing. And it's a challenge that we can overcome together.
I-
That leads me into my next
I'm
question for
ready.
you. There are a lot of myths that surround influencer marketing. I've often said that brand awareness and brand legitimacy are things that you cannot measure on paper. Maybe it's a stance that you agree or disagree with, but the myths, we both know they're out there. What would be maybe the top 2 or 3 myths that you could bust right now?
Oh, I love myth busting, especially with influencers, right? Because I think in our world, it's easy to hate the world of influencer marketing and to consider it very surface level
Of
or
course.
transactional. And certainly there are components to that. I mean, it can be very mercenary, but I think that we're fortunate to work with what we call everyday influencers. So we're not over here with the Kim Kardashians and the Jennifer Anistons of the world. I'm sure they're lovely, but we're working really with these, everyday people who are kind of making a living through in their living rooms through influencer marketing. And I think there's a lot of authenticity to be had there, and that's one of the joys of our business. So I think sometimes brands are very quick. Here's the myth. I think brands are very quick to sort of dismiss influencer marketing as just, girls gallivanting around doing fashion photo shoots and, just being very not cerebral, let's say.
Understand?
Yeah, and so I think there is depth to the space, and I think the other piece is there's a real myth that there's no correlation between that moment of inspiration when an influencer posts or shares a piece of content or recommends a product, and there's no correlation to purchase because it's murky, it's hard to measure, it's hard to understand and comprehend. But I think you and I just kind of exhibited it, right? Where I'm like, listen, Derek, I'm not letting you off the hook until you agree that you're going to go try Mike's Hot Honey, and you're like, okay, I got it, right? So we know we're driving you to the point of purchase and the point of activation. So I think the myth being, does this stuff work? Yes, it does. But like any other form of marketing, it really comes back to the call to action and a clear strategy. And we see so many companies now kind of going, oh, we can work with influencers in house. We can manage this ourselves. We don't need a third party like a Soapbox influence. And to that, we usually say, hey, good luck. It's like herding cats. Working with influencers is not for the faint of heart. And
That's right.
we really start to see that there's an understanding of our systems once they've tried it for themselves. We can kind of welcome them back home and say, okay, did you get enough of that? We're here to help you and make it a little easier and more effective now. So anyway, fun
Yes.
space.
And, no, and you're saying it perfectly because I think I'm going to toss you one more, and maybe
I'm
we
ready.
can debunk it
All
together.
right, let's do it.
So I think you've uncovered something extremely important for us. What we have is a corporate level of typical advertisement
Mhm.
that we've seen our whole lives,
Right.
basically, right? You still see it today.
Mhm.
It's still the core foundation of a lot of different things. While the streaming and all the different technologies are migrating,
Mhm.
you're just being fed more ads in a different way.
That's right.
All right. We all understand that and we all kind of accept it for what it is. That's why
Right.
you pay to see no ads.
Right. Exactly.
But many of us still go through the free channel and then share the login with four
Right.
people.
Right.
Like, come on. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, but like, let's differentiate as the visualization. So we have our corporate level type of, but influencing marketing is almost kind of like a
Mhm.
subdirectory of this level in which we can get really guerrilla style.
Exactly.
So when it comes to, say, a business, perhaps like Explainify
Right.
or something else that you think you don't have a retail product,
Mhm.
how does a business find success busting through the myth? So the myth would be a business can't use influencer marketing if they don't have retail, which I disagree with. But walk me through your thoughts on that. How would you word that?
Yeah, I love that. That's actually a great question because I think that is a common myth that, this is really only for a physical, tangible product. And we see, so you mentioned earlier hospitality. I actually have some background in the tourism and
That's right.
hospitality space myself. And I think that's a perfect
Love it.
example because influencers are so ideal for uncovering, hey, I had this experience. I went to this place this weekend. I had this experience. You've got to have this experience too. So I think it really comes down to your target customer, your target shopper. So you think about a business such as Explainify, presumably your clientele are businesses, right? Your
Right.
B2B. And so once you define who that target audience is, you can go find them. They exist out there. And so it comes down to kind of codifying who is your target customer and then locating where they hang out online and then finding the right influencers for that niche. And that's, not that you're giving me a segue to pitch here, but that's, I think, what we do really well is that sort of seek and destroy. Like, I'll give you a good example. We had a product a few years ago called Hunter's Cloak with a K. And
Love it.
the client used to laugh at me because I would call it aromatherapy for dudes, right? Because it was this sort of cartridge that you wear around your neck if you're a hunter, and
Okay.
you're going out and you're big game or deer hunting, right?
That's
And
right.
it would emit a scent, right? I'm trying to speak in layman's terms because I'm not a hunter, and I assume
Yep.
we're not
Yep.
talking to a lot of hunters on the show. But it's essentially concealing, your scent so that you can hunt,
Yes.
right? And it had all of these cartridges that could be swapped in and out. So for that specific influencer marketing campaign, we couldn't go to everyone in America. We had to find people who like to hunt, specifically deer in specific southern states. And guess what? There's a subset of influencers for that. So again,
Right.
kind of that seek and destroy mentality for any business to take advantage of this space comes down to knowing who your shopper, your customer is, and then it's going to work for you.
And that is absolutely perfect because that success story right there, you would think maybe an atypical product that wouldn't work. And no, there's still a
Mhm.
niche.
There
There's
is.
still a way to be the thought leader. There's still a way to be that brand that nobody thought about. I didn't think about it that way.
That's right.
And even for Explainify, right? I mean, we could take the same
Yeah,
angle. There's a niche of content creators out there, video makers, animators, voiceovers, all these different talents that we
exactly.
have for script writing that have done work for Apple, IBM, Disney, Google, you name it.
Right.
We have the talent. Those people all hang out
They
together.
do. That's
And if you think that they don't, you are incorrect.
right.
They all follow each other. They're all best buddies.
They're
They
connected.
all love working with one another. And so the same actually goes for everything. And that would be my argument
Yep.
is that no, it's not impossible. You do. You just got to find that right niche, but you got to do it for more than 30 days.
That's right.
So that would be maybe one more myth we can bust is that, oh, it just works in 30 days.
Right.
Forget that. I would probably argue it probably takes 9 months to a year at least of those type of efforts before you can really see it, jump up. Very much like investing. You don't see a lot until you get to a certain serious level of investment where you start to see the annual returns really kick in.
You're exactly
That's the way I consider my influence marketing. So
right.
when it comes to the investment side and another success story, you think you got another one in there for us?
Oh my gosh, always. Yeah. I think those are my favorite part, I think, of the business is just thinking about, who we've been able to serve and some of the things that we've really had a good time working on because they're unique, right? They're novel and
Yes.
you have a good time when you get to do those sorts of things. So this is
A
why
ton
I
of
think
fun.
I'm older than you, Derek. So I'm going to make a Gen X reference here. But so when I was going through high school, Arizona tea was really popular, right? And so the branding
That's
is
right.
really iconic. If you picture there, it's like the tall cans of flavored teas, and they had like the botanical and kind of floral design, and then
For like 99
yeah,
cents?
yes, exactly. And like a cow
Yes.
skull
So
on the
good.
can. I don't know why that worked from a branding perspective, but it did. So we had an opportunity just a few years ago to work on Arizona energy shots. So this was branded by
Oh, goodness.
Arizona, like a recognizable brand, but it was a smaller energy shot. And
Okay, okay.
it was really interesting because it was like a natural. Um,
Nope.
You're still there? Okay, we'll cut a little bit.
I'm still here. I'm still
I'll
here.
just jump in and let them edit out. So the
Yeah.
Arizona
Sorry.
energy shots are really interesting because they're just a small flavored shot of energy, but they had some really nice health attributes. They weren't like a, not to bash these guys, but they weren't like a Red
Okay.
Bull or a Monster that was kind of more of a cracked out approach that would, be appealing maybe to a millennial male, but less so to an exhausted mom. And so, perfect example, our job was to really find that exhausted mom or that night shift worker who wanted a dose of energy, but they didn't, they wanted it to maybe have a good flavor and no terrible side
That's
effects.
a good
So,
point.
so we did some geo targeting. We found people who lived and shopped near the stores that carried this item and pushed it out. And it was just really fun to watch that because we saw this after effect of other Gen Xers tagging friends from high school like, hey, yo, you remember when we used to drink Arizona? They've got this energy shot
Yes.
now. So we watched this really cool ripple effect of people telling people about it because the brand was recognizable. So that's our job, right? To
That's
start the
amazing.
ripple and then step back and watch it flow.
I got it. I love that. I don't know if it's word of mouth per se,
Yep.
but this nostalgia plus viral plus technology connection.
Yeah.
Do you remember this back in the
Yeah.
day? Now check it out. Look, it's
Exactly.
back. It's better than ever. And I think that's such a unique angle right now. We're all seeing us kind of relive the past almost as we
Yes.
push forward. We're reverting to previous styles of clothing and animation
Yes.
and the way we run production on everything that you see. And I think
So
that's
true.
absolutely amazing. So when you really peel back the onions as to how do all these different things work, I think the core thing at all of them has got to be the data.
Yes.
The data is something that was never available at that time.
Agree.
You just put it out on TV because that's how you did it. There was no Facebook or a tagging. What's a
Yeah.
tag? Like that wasn't a concept. It was all about the Nielsen
That's
ratings.
right.
Like, come on, and how many eyeballs you could get in the 90s.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Spending billions of dollars on websites that don't produce any profit.
Yeah.
Like those things are all interesting for
They
sure.
are.
But in this day and age, that data
That's what
is what
drives it.
enables us to do it with the platform. So the platform can do whatever, but if the data wasn't there, it wouldn't mean anything.
And the common
So when
sense
we talk
behind
about
it.
tracking and advertising, thank you. Yes, you are the queen of data,
Oh, let
and
me get a
you.
crown.
That's the way I look at it. If I needed somebody, you can find them, and that's the way I look at it. If they're over there under that rock over there,
Yes.
we can go get them.
That's
And I
exactly
think that's what it's all about in influencer marketing. Is all it takes is a few little rocks of
right.
niches
Hmm.
to recognize you and re-promote you genuinely
Hmm.
because you're helpful, insightful, etc. Right? Not just as a transactional thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to build a real brand relationship and a loyalty to a brand in 7 seconds when you have 6,000 advertisers hitting
Yeah.
you a day.
Yeah.
How does Arizona pop off and create that instant nostalgia? That's amazing, right? That's a brand connection. Even I personally in high school, Arizona tea was the thing.
Oh,
You
good.
go
I'm
down to
not
the,
dating
the local thing, you go down to Billy's, you go get yourself a poor boy
myself.
sandwich, and then you get yourself an Arizona iced tea with
Were you
it, and
in
you
New
get
Orleans? Oh, I'm
all flavors.
jealous. You had access to a po' boy. Let's be
And that's
honest.
exactly what I'm talking about, is even from East Coast to West Coast, I can still relate to that because I
Yeah.
it takes me back to high school myself.
That's so fun.
So I do. Let's come around the corner
Okay.
then, right? So you're doing amazing things. There's amazing results, all different types of brands and businesses. We've demolished the myths that you have to fit into some perfect. No, that's not the truth. You could be virtually anything. There's a group out there waiting to love your brand, and I think that's what it gets into. So when it comes for the next steps for you
Hmm.
and for Soapbox pushing into 2021 and beyond that, what's your vision? What do you see right now? What's on the roadmap?
Oh, that's fun to think about a little bit. We've gotten so busy, I think, during the pandemic at just, seeing 5 feet in front of us. It's fun to start thinking, forward thinking again, right?
That's right.
So I think our team is probably doubling down a little bit more on the insights side of our business. It's something that we do incredibly well. But we get so excited about the social and the influencer side that we sometimes forget to talk about it. So, I think that's a simple response, but it's something that we're really leaning into. And you can't be all things to all people, so we try to really understand what we do well, and we don't want to take on services and products that aren't part of that kind of intricate balance of holding my hands in a triangle, because we really kind of think of it as a
Yep.
three-legged stool of services that we offer. And then the other kind of what's next for us is, and this is a simple one as well, We used to host an annual conference for, several hundred influencers here in Bentonville, and we miss that. We're excited to get back to the world of, hosting an in person event where we can bring people together for best practices and learning and camaraderie. And that's certainly been absent in the world in the last year. So that's ahead for us in 22, getting our conference back on track in its 10th year.
I love that. And we want to make sure that we help promote that for you. And I look forward
Yeah,
to getting my
come
tickets in the
play.
mail for when things are a little bit more normal. I'd love to come join that myself.
Please do.
But for the end of today, that's it for the show today. So thank you, Beth. Our viewers love it. We greatly appreciate your insights, the wonderful tidbits we have. We got to talk about some colorful stories, but then we also went through, busted some of those myths, and then talked a little bit about the future. But if I could say anything, walking away, final notes is that if you don't think you don't need influencer marketing. That's just not true. You need to do all levels of marketing. You need to do your typical, you need to do your digital, your online, and it matters where you go, of course, but start utilizing the data and the power and the network connections behind the influencer marketing arena. If you're not doing it, you're not following best practices and you are behind. And I will tell you myself. So it's something that we strongly believe in ourselves because our videos have been viewed by tens of millions of people.
You're living
People approach us, the brands and love, some that we talk about today. They love coming to us and buying a lot of videos at once, and it's because they understand that you don't just do it one time. You need to recommit to monthly and quarterly deliveries of content for people. So even like I said earlier, you can't just do it for 30 days, our viewers. You cannot do it for 1 month, 3 months, and expect immediate results.
Yeah,
You really need to find a path to put your foot down, all 10 toes down, right? And go for it and do it a year.
yeah.
So I think that if I could walk with for anything to learn today is that it is a real thing. You need to get started like yesterday,
That's
and
right.
people like Beth will help take you there.
We're here to help. Hey, Derek, it's been a blast.
One
Thanks for
more
having
pitch for you.
me. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We'll have you on again another time soon so you can update us on what the latest is. All right.
Love it. Thanks, Derek. Great to talk to
All
you.
right.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Bye. Thank you.